Madame After Midnight. This is a podcast where we talk about life and its many pursuits of sustainable happiness. I'm your host, Madame Donut. Now, I've warned you before, and I'm warning you again that this podcast can make you hungry or horny, but that's just what I like to do, so please stick around. I hope you enjoy this evening's show. Now, have you, or anyone you know, always wanted to grow your own food but didn't know where to start? Well, my guest tonight is Dave Pollmiller. He owns this business called Harvest Garden. So basically what he does is he can come to your home and help you design a garden that fits your lifestyle and the garden space that you have, and hopefully teach you how to grow your own food. I mean, how magical is that? Well, I think that would just be so cool if you could grow your own food, right? Anyways, let's talk to my guest tonight. So please welcome Dave Pollmiller. So hi, Dave. Dave, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Absolutely. And if you don't mind, like, speaking up just a tad, okay. You probably just talk to plants and they must love your really gentle, sweet voice, and they grow way better when you speak to them that way. But I'm Madame, and usually I come with a whip. So, yes. So
I gotta speak up.
Yeah.
Yell at you.
What I'm saying is I don't need to be spoken to gently. Okay. But anyways, Dave, so you started this business, Harvest Garden.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this new business. How long? I mean, how old is it? When did you start and why?
Yeah, great
That's
question. Yeah, so I started it in 2020. Yeah, I started it right before COVID.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like a month before COVID. And I mean, honestly, the reason why I went out and started it in the first place was because I needed to make extra cash, and I knew that I thought that I could put myself out to the community and build some gardens for people and make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Not even thinking of turning it into anything. I just really needed like a few extra $100 in my pocket.
Where were you working then?
I was working at Homegrown farm.
Oh, nice. With Evan, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why not, right? You're learning at the farm.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
That's just a natural.
Yeah. I had just bought my dream truck and had no way to pay for the gas or.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I had to do something.
I love this little adventuresome beginnings,
yeah.
You know, and how that you just adjust it and make it into something. So this was before, like I said, beginning of 2020, before COVID, and of course not realizing that it might actually become a need or like an amazing, skill for people to learn. Yeah. So, but okay, so you just started taking clients to help with their gardens.
Yeah, I just put myself out to the community. Evan was a real help. Actually, yeah, and Ryan, because he's well connected to the agricultural community here and had done a lot of the similar work, helping people get set up with gardens or fruit trees or orchards.
Right.
So people would call him, hit him up, and say, "Hey, do you know of anybody who could help me out?" And he would give him my number. So that was really helpful, just to get more people like coming in.
Yeah.
You know, more people to go help.
Yeah.
And I just started saying yes and picking up more jobs here and there, and just really doing not almost anything, but it wasn't like specific.
I mean, if there's a wad of cash, you know, it comes with the DNs of the garden, right? I'm sorry. Stylistically, I kind of go there. But, so wait, so you were just taking clients to help with their garden. Yeah. You didn't have a specific plan, or obviously like a business plan. It was just like a cash job, or? At first
it was like just I needed to make some cash.
Yeah.
And then like came this like wave of inspiration to I don't know, change the community or change the world or use it.
How did this wave of inspiration come to you?
Oh man, so
this is still pre-COVID that we're talking about?
This is probably now like in COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I went deep into like YouTube land and started listening to Wayne Dyer. You know Wayne Dyer? He's
I know
author. I don't know how to describe his stuff, but it was very inspirational. I don't know, about making one's life better, more beautiful.
By I
can't even remember in this moment.
But there must be something about it. I mean, like what what would make it beautiful for you? Like, what changed it for you? Like, you know, we meet inspirational people all the time, and then something will trigger that it could change you from the inside. And for you to think that this is like a business that you could do to also affect a good change, is that what you were thinking?
Yeah.
But, and so by then you kind of, what, at this point, I'm assuming you've registered your business, like officially?
No. I didn't do that for like 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were it's just through connecting with people.
Totally. Yeah.
When did it change that it became a business?
In December of 2020.
Just because you had way more clients than usual? Or?
Yeah. At that point, it made more sense. It made more sense. Yeah, because I needed to hire someone. I needed to become legit to help more people, really, to branch out even more. Yeah.
When you say help people, were you actually thinking of that change that kind of, like we were saying, part of the wave of inspiration, or change like, okay, make it a real business at this point, right? Since it's growing that way, or is it both, or it was just the meaning of the work that you were doing, or is it like, you know, you got to adult up sometimes, you know?
I mean, it was all of that. Yeah, it was all of that. I mean, it was about, again, first, honestly, it was about creating a better life, a better quality of life for myself. It just so happens that I was doing it in a way that benefited a lot of other people through growing food and helping them eat better, and it helps the land because I have more organic gardening background. Yeah. So it's like feeding 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yes, I love that. Earlier today we were talking about how I hate that term, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone, and I never really knew how to I like the meaning, but I don't like the birds. Come on,
yes.
They're cute. Unless I'm gonna eat them. That was good food, right? But so you had that background, obviously working with Evan, but prior to that, I think you mentioned you also worked with a farm up in North or South Carolina.
North Carolina.
So where are you from again? So like now you're on Maui. How long you been on Maui now?
Off and on for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
When was the last big chunk that you finally like? Okay, I'm settling.
I moved back here in 2019. So since then it's been consistent. But before that, I mean, the longest chunk was probably the first time I moved here 10 years ago when I stayed. I mean, it was less than a year actually. It felt like so much longer because I lived so much life in that short 9 or 10 months.
Yeah. What were you doing then?
Farming.
Oh, where?
At this little wonderful 2-acre farm called Sailing Windward Farm.
And they're still around, yeah?
No.
Oh.
No, they sold the property.
Oh, they did, and there's no more farm, or?
Well, there is still, the orchard's still there, and I actually still take care of the gardens. Yeah, it's a long story, but the property owner and I got connected at a coffee shop, and she ended up helping me so much. Jen, if you're listening, I'm forever in debt to you. You know that. And
when you connected with this lady, like, she didn't even know that you worked on that farm?
No.
Is it magic? No. I love that when you just kind of, I don't know, like things just fall into place and you meet people that you don't realize it's like one change that's gonna make such a big wave, like a domino effect, on how your life's gonna turn out to be. I think that's magic. But okay, so you were here for you've been living on Maui 10 years off and on. But in between then, was that when you got more into farming, or were you always into farming before you moved to Maui?
No. Yeah, so I grew up in Kansas.
Yes.
And never did any kind of gardening or growing food at all, or I never even ate food off of a plant. Never until I moved here. Like never until I was 22 years old.
Wow.
Did I ever eat a fruit or a vegetable straight off of the plant.
That's so wild to me.
Oh, dude, yeah, I was raised on McDonald's and video games and baseball and Hot Pockets.
Yeah, totally, like
Middle America, baby.
Middle American, opposite of what I knew as a kid. I don't know if I told you this, but the first time I ever went into a supermarket, I was probably 14 years old. So the same kind of like probably like a magical like
The opposite.
yeah, like wait, what? Like a real plant, you know? And like I said, I'm not a farmer, I'm not a gardener, but I grew up in a farm in a remote third world country where we had to grow our own food because we're poor, right? But to me, that's so magical, right? Like when you discover, like, oh shit, like really this carrot. Like when I go pick up, I get my CSA produce bag from Evan as well, Homegrown, and I just love, like, I don't even look, I just dig in the bag and I'm driving away eating a carrot or like a head of lettuce. I love that.
Yes.
So I think that's so magical. So I remember walking into the first supermarket, and I thought like the chicken pieces are already cut. It was so odd. Like I asked my mom, like, how do you know if that's fresh? There's no blood, right?
Yeah.
But you grew up where like you've probably never seen a wild chicken running around that you have, like, you know, you didn't have to catch one,
No.
you know, to eat.
No.
And that's the thing, like I had to, like, my mom would be like, okay, well, go catch the biggest chicken you can catch for dinner. That I had to cook. By, like, I mentioned that by about 9 years old, I've been cooking, I was like cooking for the family. And I'm sure I probably wouldn't serve whatever I made then to people that I know now. I can't even remember how, I mean, it's basic stuff. That's the thing with, you know, Filipinos. So you have to make rice 3 times a day. So you got the main whatever is needed like out of the way, and most people would know how to cook rice like, you know, as soon as you're born practically. But I had to make at least like a couple of dishes, you know, meat dishes and vegetable dishes, whatever like my mom and my brother would gather or, you know, harvest that day.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And then of course like the big animals, my uncles would be usually like, okay, like they'd kill a whole pig or whatever and then give me like a little tail or ear or something to play with and start learning how to cook meat. But yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. But the funny thing is, like I said, like you meet people, and I just feel like sometimes, like my friend always says this, the stars align, and then you make a big difference in people's lives. And anyways, I'm just like excited to meet people who are inspired about what they do, because it keeps me inspired as well. So anyways, a friend of mine, for anybody if they want a little bit of background here, I actually just met you
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Like I reached out to you, I was like, hey, I like what you're doing, let's chat. And yeah, so now you're here on the podcast. So I'm just really curious about it, because a few months ago when I was trying, or maybe about a year ago, I was trying to think of what the Madam's Larder, the nonprofit that I started, like should do, or what it should accomplish. And part of the things that I was thinking was like, you know, it would be really nice to teach how to grow the food. And I feel like that's my weak side, right? So I've been reaching out with farms, and so I wanted to feature farms, but I felt like I could like really connect more with people, how, you know, when it comes to growing the food. So when my friend saw your page, she's like, oh, like he's doing what you said you wanted to do. Not me personally, because again, I'm not an expert in farming or gardening, but I was like, oh, but she was like, you know, the growing from home instead of just the farms that I wanted to promote to people, because that's closer to what I know growing up. That it's
growing at home.
Yeah, growing at home, and that you eat. Like I grew up in a farm, but we weren't like a business farm. We had extra, either to trade or to sell some, but it wasn't like agribusiness at all. To me, I wanted to do away a little bit from the commercial sense of it. Like, it's nice. I always talk about supporting local businesses and local farms, always first and foremost. But if you can be more self-reliant, I think that's really like one of the most empowering things. I probably wouldn't know how to set up like a backyard garden. But to have somebody who's like, okay, I see this land, we can lay it up this way, and then I can maintain it somehow, right? So I think your service is really cool. So that's why I was like, yeah, it's so cool. So it's 2 years old, right? Yeah. And how is it doing?
It's doing better than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find clients other than Evan at this point? Are you able to market?
Yeah. I mean, mostly at this point, it's word of mouth. and this app called Nextdoor has been amazing for me.
Oh, right. I'm not on any of
Not on
this.
that, Nextdoor?
No, but I do have a friend who is, and I actually got my washer from there.
There you go. It's great for that kind
yeah,
of
that's
stuff.
what she said. Like, they don't want to post on anywhere too big. No, nobody really wants to be on Craigslist anymore. Oh my God. This probably shows my age, but I knew Craigslist when not Craig himself, but I don't know who the fuck Craig is. I don't know if he's even a real person. But Craigslist started in the Bay Area, and I was living in the Bay Area when Craigslist was still new and still relatively safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got so much stuff on it now, and it's become like, you know, a global thing, right? So you never know what you're gonna find on it. But this is totally tangent because I love going on a tangent, or just, you know, because it's a fun story. I put together a male slave party on Craigslist.
Male slaves.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know why we're going there, but it's kind of like
Tell
the
me about
Nextdoor app
Yeah.
when Craigslist was still that. Like, it's like a neighborhood bulletin board. And my girlfriends and I were just hanging out. We're like, oh, let's have a craft night. I was like, oh God, it's so girly and boring. I was just like, at this point, I'm getting in touch with my you know, I was weightlifting, so I kind of didn't want to be too girly, making crafts. Like, so I was like, well, maybe we should have some peeping toms. And like, well, who do we ask to be peeping toms? Like, that's just a silly idea. Like, no, really, what's better is like we had male slaves to have a party and we don't have to do anything, right? So, anyways, this is basically like when Craigslist was still Nextdoor app, and I posted like wanted male slaves, and I had a few quite a few like guys who would serve us for at our party. All I wanted to do is like have a party without having to do anything. Can you like clean up after us, like wash the dishes, cook, serve us, foot massages, out. So anyways, that's what I did. Like,
and it worked.
It was amazing. I had one guy friend who I asked to become my undercover male slave, so that we had this was back in the city, so you just you never know. But here's how oh my God, I'm making like a really amazing madame. This is actually the first time I was madame.
That night?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, well, if I have male slaves, they cannot address me by my first name. So you either, address me as goddess or madame. Madame is, so I cannot tell. That's one of the reasons why I had to bring it up as well, because it is actually kind of like, I'm talking about like life-altering things, and one day it will come back, right? Crazy shit. So when Craigslist was a Nextdoor app kind of thing, and the first time I was with it, this will be in my book. So basically what I did was I interviewed these guys separately, and they never met each other. And I picked out the best male slaves, best male slave candidates. And by the time of the party, like the night of the party, I picked them up at different times, so they never got to talk to each other. And I blindfolded them and walked them into my vehicle. Mind you, this is San Francisco, so there's like people around like seeing me have this guy, and nobody cares because this is San Francisco. I think if we were on Maui and I'm like walking with a guy with a blindfold, they'd be like, oh my God, is everything okay, right? Nobody asked a thing. It was great. Put them in my vehicle, drove around in circles so they didn't have an idea where they went. The coffee shop was like literally a half a block from my apartment. And then I drove into my garage, walked them up the fire escape, so they never knew. The buildings were facing each other, so you never know what's out there in the streets. And then all my windows were covered, so they can't even look out the window. And the slaves, the male slaves, were not allowed to speak to each other, so they can't come up with any ideas to get silly or whatever. Plus, I had an excellent male slave, like undercover male slave. He was a chef, so he's like cooking. So they made us dinner.
Plan.
Oh my God, it was like the best. I wish I could do it again. Now, like, I've blown my cover. Like, can't quite know. But it was such a fun.
Make a post on Nextdoor.
Yeah. Now that I don't want to go on Craigslist.
Washers, gardeners, male slaves.
Yeah.
That's just the logical progression.
Thank you. Right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Good idea. See, we're friends already. We're like good friends already. You're already giving me ideas on how to become a better madame and how to maintain my madameness. But like seriously, like one of these male slaves who was so good, like they're not even allowed to go to the bathroom unless we gave them permission, right? So like, Madame did it. Oh, it was so great. And then he was so good, a male slave, that I had to punish him just because. So I was like, well, do some push-ups. Well, he was strong, dude. Like, he was just doing push-ups like nothing. I was like, God damn it. Like, so I had to sit on his back to do like push-ups. And we got like foot massages. And one of our male slaves, like when I interviewed, like, what are your skills? What do you got for this party, right? One of them was a musician. So we had free entertainment. He brought his guitar. It was amazing.
This was just one night?
Yeah.
One
night.
One blowout night with your male slave.
I had so much fun. Like I said, I need to, I don't know how I can pull that off now. I have to have a secret Madame name other than Donna.
A fourth Madame name.
Fourth Madame, from a fourth Madame page. And this would be really, really undercover. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Anyways, so, see how I digress and I forget about what I'm talking about. We're talking about gardening. Can you give us
to gardening?
Back to gardening. That's what you're here for.
Channel.
Yeah. So, okay, back to gardening. So, how do you maintain your clients? So, like, you get clients obviously now from next door or Evan or through word of mouth. And so, basically, how does it work? Like, they call, let's just go there. How does this work? When they call you and they say, hey, I want a garden, what's the process?
Yeah. Well, I will let you know that I did post to Craigslist today.
Okay.
right before I came.
It's okay, but you weren't asking for male or female slaves or whatever kind of slaves.
Well, you don't know what I was posting about.
I've not been on Craigslist in so long, so.
Yeah.
So yes. Okay. Anyways, you never know what you're gonna get on Craigslist these days.
But if people are contacting me for gardens, then I typically go over to their house.
Yes.
Yeah. They send me a quick little email or text or call me and tell me a little about what they want, and just some kind of vision of what they have in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something within my services, what I provide through the business, then I'll schedule a time to go over there, and we'll meet for like an hour, and they'll just show me the space, and we'll talk about what kind of plants they want and all the details of the project, water, where's the sun, what do they want to grow, and then I'll take all that information and make a plan and a quote and send it to them via email. And it's either usually a thumbs up or not.
And what are your limitations in particular? So obviously there has to be some sunlight. Hello, we're in Maui, so at least that's kind of taken care of. Water, like how the area is shaded in particular, right?
Yeah.
So they might have an idea of what they want to grow, and then it's not feasible. That's usually one of the things that you look at.
Yeah, I mean, it can actually be quite complicated here because there's so many different little pockets of weather and temperature and wind and different soil types.
Yeah.
So that's been very fun to learn about where different things grow best here in Maui.
Yeah.
And it's different. I mean, it's almost different for every single property because it varies so widely.
Right, and how their land maybe is it's flat or
Sunlight is critical, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, sunlight, temperature, water.
When have you said no?
When have I said no?
Yeah. Striptease! No, I don't do that. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
If they want me to cut grass,
yes,
cut grass,
it's not
weed whack.
Yeah.
And if it has to do with ornamental landscaping, like non-edible stuff, I typically say no. Because I built this all around growing food and using the skills that I love and the passion that I have to grow more food.
Yeah. And then do you do any combos at all then? I mean...
Yeah, more recently I felt inspired to do combinations. You're asking about combinations of edibles or ornamentals. And because people are contacting me about larger projects and they want not just the one slice of the pie that's edible. They also want things that are beautiful,
right?
Or trees. So I'm also saying yes to more of those jobs now because I think it's a fun challenge for me to learn all this. I get to learn so much about new ornamental plants and I've also felt really inspired lately to plant more plant more natives for folks, because I mean, yeah, you asked me kind of about the vision, and if I can be of service to help grow more food and to plant more edibles or more natives here,
Yes.
and like on a small scale, and to vision and to dream like on a large scale. I mean, that to me, I don't know what could be more beautiful than that. Just growing a ton of food and reforesting or replanting all these native species that have been almost completely wiped out from the areas that I live in. Makwa, Pukalani, Kula, Haiku. I see so few native species growing.
What did you know that we're growing in Makwa? Because I actually personally don't know. Like, what did you find that didn't exist anymore in like certain areas like Makawao? You're saying since you live there.
I mean, recently, and I mean, I heard this at a party, so don't quote my facts.
This is like internet party,
I heard this around a campfire at a party, but from what I've heard and what I've gathered, there's a road in Haiku that's called Kauikoa. It goes up from like about Haiku Marketplace up towards Haleakala. And Kauikoa, from what I heard around this campfire, means end of the koa forest. And so from how I understand it now, from that road stretching all the way through that part of Haiku, Makwa, Pukalani, Kula, Ulupalakua, and wrapping all the way around was like koa forest. Koa and all these other species that I'm not familiar with, ohia, I'm sure, and all these other species. And with now that I know that or have heard that and can imagine or try my best to imagine what these forests could have looked like, or just the parts of Maui that I drive through every day that once were completely forested and now are, they've been used for pasture, sugar, pineapple, and now are pasture and lawn space. Yeah, it's just like, wow. What better could I do for the land than help to reforest? And especially with the species that have been growing here for so long and do well here, and there's all this rich history and the birds and all the list goes on and on.
I had Maui Visitors Bureau as a guest here on this podcast. I've had amazing guests, I must say, and thank you to for adding on. You're my 18th guest. 18th episode, so 16th guest. Because the first episode was just me. And my friend who also co-hosts now and then. But I had Maui Visitors Bureau, and it was so cool talking to them about basically something similar about like sustaining what was. And so they have a lot of tourist programs where, if like tourists come and like think or inquire about like family activities that they can do. They have a bunch of programs, Malama Aina, where they go and reforest and plant something like an endemic tree that's now yours as a tourist, and then you can come back in 4 years and watch your tree grow. Like, why not? Like, you're talking about like, okay, what can we do with our skills or something that we can contribute to give back to the island? That like, I mean, obviously you're here, you moved here, and you've stayed. I always think of it as almost like an official rent, right? As a culture, we're so used to thinking that you gotta pay rent or wherever you gotta live, but we're not thinking of the bigger house, a world that's really housing us and allowing us to live beautifully. Like, I mean, think about it. During COVID, to be stuck here in paradise, and I mean, it was beautiful, but honestly, to be here. And also, because we're so far away, the nature of it is that we have to be more self-reliant. And so that's why I was particularly interested in what it is that you do, because I think it's a life skill that most people don't have. You didn't have. I don't fully. I feel like I went through a phase where I ran away from wherever I grew from and think that like I want to learn something else, move to the cities. I mean, I was like a city girl. Yeah, I lived in New York City. I lived in London. Like I lived in LA. I lived in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So like I kind of moved towards that. Like,
get me away from this small farm.
Yeah.
Nothing life.
Yeah, like it's so different. And I talked to my mom about that, and she's like, "Oh, why do you want that?" And I was like, "Because it's actually more meaningful and really like just a basic life skill when everything else is stripped away from you, other than like a hot body with that great tattoo. When that's I have to go there. I have new tattoos, so I have to like highlight my new tattoo. But and also people, was just my last guest. They get naked a lot, and I'm like, I will never be naked again because I'm fully tattooed. Anyways, again, I digress. But that's what I was like reminding her, how that simplicity is really like something that we should all have. And if we have to live in the cities, that's fine. But I think that we just lost touch as a like the whole humanity, if you will. Like moved away so far from basic appreciation of what gives us life, not entertainment, not the big fun toys. That's great if you can have it and if you can afford it, more power to you, you know, like enjoy it, it is life. But to lose touch of what we can really be more appreciative of when things are taken away from you. Like I think to me COVID, like I always go there because I mean this is going to be our generation's conversation for a while, how it changed all of our lives, but how hey, you're just trying to get like extra cash, and then it turned out it's a life skill that most people were missing. That why not share that now that you've discovered it, right? And I think I find that when you own it, like okay, this is a gift that I can possibly share. I almost feel that we need to share it because it's almost not unfair but selfish if we don't. If we think that it can actually make a difference, you know. So thank you for doing what you're doing because because I think it matters. It's those little things, like, you know, if we're gonna be entertained by whatever. Entertainment is also part of sustainability. I think if you're happy, you know. If you're doing something that you enjoy, that is part of maintaining and sustaining your happiness. But before we go there and this basic human, like if we're stuck here in Ireland, like we were for the last week, like till recently, we couldn't travel, can we live well enough? And we can. Like if we learn the life skills of growing your own food. So that's why I was drawn to like meeting with you because I love the concept. Did you know that it was a cool concept?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I just want to know like your confidence level and like how you felt like okay, this is something that.
Yeah, I knew it was cool for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, no, I asked it because a lot of people, and I go through this sometimes where I feel like, am I in the right place? Like, am I just like way over my head thinking that I can make this difference? Because 8 years ago, when I started Donut Dynamite, I was asked by this organization called Maui Food Innovation, and they're still around. They basically help small food businesses, especially the ones that are making value-added products that can be put on, you know, packaged, and small food businesses basically. Anyways, so they asked me. Again, I didn't know what it was about. They asked me what my future plan was with my business, and I just said, I want to rule the world with my donuts, or through my donuts, I think is what I said. But I thought I was being playful saying that, and it was, you know, being playful, but I kind of sort of meant it, but more like Madonna style. Like, you know, like I'm just a rock star, like with the donuts, and I'm going to change the world. But mostly at the time I was thinking like, joy. That was always like one of my like personal mission, if you will, that I feel like people forget joy. Like to me the donut was like a symbol of this childlike, unpretentious, like I'm just having a sweet as a kid, and can we adult that up a little bit? So obviously I wanted to make a better product that I felt like as an adult, and you're a little bit more picky with what you eat. If you're gonna get your treat, it has to be well made, but it still has to be a donut. Like, I didn't want to pretend like all of a sudden I'm gonna make like the healthiest version of it. Like, no, part of what's pleasurable about it is that it's naughty. Don't take that away from it. Then that's the extra joy that you get out of that.
Right.
You know, when you do something naughty, not bad, because bad makes you feel kind of guilty and shitty, and like, you know, I was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. But naughty is great when you kind of just giggle a little bit, like, like that was fun. Nobody was hurt, right? Like, I mean, you might have to take a few extra steps. Maybe you're gonna go hike the cross every Monday now that you eat your donuts every Saturday, but it's not bad, right? We get to a certain age where adulting meant you can't have fun anymore. You know, you can't be silly anymore. You can't be playful anymore. And I fucking hated that. You know, I have to be more responsible. But to take away my joy too, like my little like silliness, like I hope people don't lose that, right? So that was part of what it meant to me to make donuts. It almost innocent, like joy, like being a child and enjoying a treat. You know, without feeling so guilty about it, but just enough to giggle, because it's a fucking donut. Like, you're not supposed to have a donut, you know, but you do it anyways, and it's so much fun, because at least you feel like, well, at least it's not junk. You know, like, you get some artistry behind it, and that, to me, I thought was like, that's how I'm going to change the world, is to remind people that to be childlike and to be, to enjoy something naughty, but good. I meant it then, and years later I realized I will always mean it. You know, if through the donut I can like reach more people, which I did, you know, and have the connection with the community through my pastry, which was really odd because I was on the cover of the best-selling free school catalog ever.
What was that?
I don't like saying that it was a best-selling free catalog at school, at the community college, and they had the I think the non-credit classes, like for, I think it was called Adventure at the time, but now I think it's called something else. But basically, they're the courses that they have at the college, but that are not college credits necessarily. I think some of them are, and the cover was of me and my donuts, and it said food and community, which I was really, really proud of, because I've always never wanted just to make treats just for a sweet tooth fix. I wanted it to mean more, and I thought it did. And so the fact that they chose to make the cover about food and community, not like food and treats, you know what I mean? Like just like I used to kind of hate this secretly, but not so secret now because I just say it now that I'm a little bit like, fuck it, I don't care what you think. Is that I think in the beginning of my donut career here on Maui, I was always kind of referred to as like, oh, a dessert sweetheart or whatever. It's like, which is cute, but I'm not your like donut Barbie, you know what I mean? I want like impact in the community. But because I'm very colorful, that's usually where people go. You know, that's kind of like, oh yeah, she's like,
You're the donut Barbie.
yeah, or a mascot. You know, and I like that too. But it's like, no, the message is lost in the surface judgment. But with the gardening, when you have people like say, hey, okay, well, like the edible's great, but they want more ornamental. I love that you can say, well, this isn't what I'm trying to do. How do you see it growing? What's your vision for it, and how like it can affect more people, whether it's outside of just your clientele?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. So the way, I mean, really all it's about for me right now is just continuing to let people know that I'm here, that we're here, me and my team doing this, so that this service, I just want to let people know that this service is available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do have a bit of an agenda to grow as much food as I can.
Yeah.
At residences at people's homes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, back to like where I spend the most of my time in Makawao, Kukulani, Kula, like there's so much land there, and there's so much opportunity to grow food, and then I just in the place of ornamentals to grow natives, beautiful native plants. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite native plant that you?
I mean the koa gets me a lot. I just saw the biggest koa trees I've ever seen way up on Haleakala a few weeks ago. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously I know what koa is, but like, how do you feel that it, area can be reforested a bit more, and is it feasible to grow a koa tree in your backyard? Obviously depending on the size, but is that something that you actually do? Like, do you actually plant koa trees?
I haven't yet.
Yeah?
No.
Yeah. Huh. I wonder if we could connect with...
Well, only very recently have people asked me to do some more ornamental landscaping jobs, some larger ones.
Yeah.
And typically in the past I would have looked else. I would have looked for another business to take care of that part. I'll say that. I would have told the client, I'll do your fruit trees in the gardens, right? I'll stick to what I know, yeah. But now I'm kind of expanding my comfort zone and saying yes and pushing my agenda, as much as I can to plant more native where they want ornamental. Just steering just steering.
Yeah. Because sometimes they don't even know, right?
No, they don't,
what are their options? Like, hey, I saw my neighbor, the Joneses, have these plants in my home. But then if you give them options, it probably, that's the thing. I think that if you can educate people with their choices, oftentimes they would choose something that's generally better if they know that it actually means more. That's I think part of what I love about your responsibility is that somebody can say, hey, okay, I want this garden. And a lot of times they call you because they don't know where to start. And that's where I feel like there's a responsibility to it and a power to it as well, to steer them, like you're saying, towards something that might mean more, or it's going to be more important to them and learn from, and has more value for the land. Do you do any, so you maintain the gardens, but how do you get soil elsewhere? Because a lot of times, of course, you have to amend the soils, and most people's backyards are not probably the best.
Yep.
So where do you get your soil somewhere in particular? Do you also put do you also start a compost program for homes, or how does that work?
Yeah, good questions. We haven't set up a ton of composting systems for folks. Not a request that I get that much.
Because people don't probably usually want a compost thing in their backyard as much.
Some people already have it going.
Yeah.
So there's no need for us to do it. But anyway, when I get soil, I get it from Maui Eco, which is at the landfill, and they sell bulk fill dirt.
Yeah.
And that works well just to help fill space in some of the deep garden beds that we built.
Yeah.
And I'll also get bulk aged steer manure delivered. Cow manure.
Yeah, so that you get a good healthy soil from just starting.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. Yeah, it's a great gift to be able to have that delivered in bulk. Yeah. And then I just started getting some, the island had really, in my opinion, terrible compost for sale for the last couple of years, so I just found another guy to get really good compost from.
So you do have contacts and amended soil or amendments for the soil.
Yeah.
What are your preferred, I'm looking at some of your pictures of your gardens, and you have those galvanized iron garden boxes, beds that you make. What makes you choose those materials versus wood, or it's a really curious question, since I like them, I think they're beautiful, they're clean looking, but why would you choose iron versus wood, for example?
Well, pretty much all of the garden beds that you see on my website were not my design or my choice. It was the client. The galvanized one, somebody that I worked for a long time. He just found the designs online and asked if I could build them.
Yeah.
I said, I can do that. So I built one to start.
Yeah.
And then he asked me to build him 3 more. And then I took a bunch of photos and shared it online.
Yeah.
And then now I've built like 50 of them for people who like the design. So that's how that started.
Mm-hmm. But do you have a preference, or is there a benefit to one or the other? Like, I really have no idea.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. I mean, the style is important for people, but the steel, lasts much longer than lumber. It lasts much longer than wood, so yeah.
But that doesn't affect, it's just to basically but make sure that your soil is contained. Really, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
It's I'm just used to going to the farm where it's all on the ground. Is that something that you would prefer or not at all? Is it really something about the containers, or is that just a preference for most people?
It's a preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, about bending over.
Now, is there anything about your business in particular that you think? You said there's one other business that's sort of kind of doing something? Or?
Yeah, I know of just a couple other professional services like mine doing edible landscapes which has been surprising. Yeah, I thought
there's less or more.
No, I thought there would be way more. Yeah. There seems to be so much of a need for my kind of services here, and there's so much energy behind growing food. And in contrast to where I grew up, I never saw a fruit tree. I don't even remember ever seeing a fruit tree growing up. Until I moved here, I didn't see fruit on trees. But here, it's ubiquitous. Everybody has a citrus tree. Everyone has a freaking lemon tree or bananas.
Avocados and mangoes and breadfruit. It's amazing.
So it just makes sense that a business like mine would exist here to help all these people get. So I was really surprised, actually, and I continue to be surprised that I only see my business advertising to the people that, at least up country, haiku, I never ever see another advertisement for someone like me or someone like my business.
That surprises me too. Food first, I think. That's what I find sexy. What do you find sexy about gardening and farming in general?
I'm so glad you asked.
Shut up.
What isn't sexy about it?
Why isn't sexy? Well, yeah, right. What isn't sexy about it?
So, I guess the first moment I ever ate a tomato off of the vine. Yeah, that was a sexy moment. I was alone in the greenhouse at night with my headlamp on.
Oh my God, it was a sexy moment.
I never even liked tomatoes. I never liked tomatoes, and there I was that fateful night in haiku. Yeah, going to pick some food for dinner. Yeah. Fresh, I was fresh to the farm. Yeah. Fresh out of Kansas.
So cute.
In my new life, and there I was staring at this tomato plant. Yeah. And there was one beautiful, perfectly ripe tomato hanging on the vine. Right. And I had to, in that moment, try my first fresh tomato. 22 years old, and I picked that fruit and put it in my mouth, and the juices just...
I know, my mouth is watering just thinking about it.
I know, from cheek to cheek, the juices just popped in my mouth, and my life was changed forever from that moment.
Right?
It was the sweetest, tastiest. I'd never tasted a real tomato in my life.
Yeah, I believe you, because what you get where you're from is not from Kansas, and it's then ripen on the vine. It's so different, and I think it's such a magical experience. I wish and I hope that more people experience it, because I think one of the things that makes me sad is that most people have lost connection in where their food comes from. That's why I wanted you on the podcast, because I wanted to talk more about what you do, and I think it seems so simple, I don't think we're all that lucky to find meaning in what we do. But what could pay our bills, but also open people's minds and share our expertise and hopefully change the world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. Okay, so other than Nextdoor or today Craigslist, where can they find you? Tell us, like, how do you have a website? Right?
Yes. Yeah. HarvestGardenHawaii.com.
HarvestGardenHawaii.com. I'm gonna make sure I post that.
Nice.
And of course you have your Instagram.
Yes, which is harvest_garden_Hawaii.
I don't know why I called it Maui. I'm so Maui oriented. Okay, cool. And then they could just reach you through that, or as well, or just okay. And then you obviously you do your posts. How do you think the community can support your business? Because I think it's so cool. I mean, other than obviously hiring you and talking about it, like any ideas on how you feel like you can get more support?
More support. I don't know. I mean, I feel so supported already.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, what kind of growth do you see for yourself and through your work?
Man. Well, the growth. Yeah. I'm just taking it as it comes, right? I mean, I want to help as many people as I can. So, as many people call me is as much I'm going to grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like my growth in this moment is, it's all around being capable of helping more and more people. Yeah. So it's challenging every single week.
Yeah, I bet.
Learn how to do this thing.
Yeah.
Learn how to start and run a business and make it work financially and make it work with employees and all my different clients' needs. And
how many employees do you have now?
I have 3, 4, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Let me just cheat and see what it. If I forgot to ask something, but any last few words that you wanted to share? Because I want to promote what you're doing. Anything that you want to put out there?
Well, yeah. I mean, something that came up is that most of the people that I'm helping, actually all the people that I'm helping grow food right now, they're not doing it out of necessity. They're fine, right? They can buy all the food that they want from the grocery store super easily. So they're doing it out of like the love for their family or their land or a greater global kind of conscious that they have about wanting to do better for the world.
Yeah.
So it's really a beautiful thing that people are choosing this out of a desire to do better with their lives.
Yeah.
How we're, as humanity, living on this world.
Yeah. I like that. And I think that's a message we should be putting out there more, because then that can grow into something else, not just gardening, but just in general, like your daily choices that can hopefully contribute to sustaining this planet a little bit better. But yeah, anyways, I want to thank you, of course, for taking the time to hang out with me this evening. And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This is a pre-recorded podcast. But next week I should be back live at 9:01 p.m. And if I'm not, I will announce it. But thank you for joining us. Aloha, everybody. Stay safe.
Aloha.
Aloha.